From an inflatable raft floating aimlessly in the Braddock family swimming pool, it's the IGN Digigods. Please welcome two guys who have one word for you, plastics, Wade Major and Mark Kaiser.
So I've got to say, I am deeply, deeply saddened by the fact that Antonia Bird died this last week.
Yeah, that's true. She was like 54.
54, died of cancer. I mean, that is such a loss. She never really got her career on a track that she deserved. Antonia Bird, for those who don't know, she directed that movie Priest, which was a bit of a Miramax, scandal for a moment and a half. And then she went on to do a really remarkably cool film with Robert Carlyle, the kind of pseudo-Western Ravenous, which is much more her style. And, she never became that super cool genre go-to filmmaker. She sort of exists somewhere between David Lynch and David Cronenberg, her style, her sensibilities, and which leads me to something. There's a very famous short film she made, which I've never seen, but apparently where someone finds a hair in the sink and they pull on it and it turns out there's a human being on the end of it.
So where was the human being? Was the human being under the sink?
See, you're asking questions for which there ought be no answer. This is existentialism. Anyway, the point being, I'm going to get to something.
Oh, there's
here.
a point.
There's a point. So, speaking of, yesterday, I'm walking around. I feel this little prick on my foot. I'm like, oh, gosh, I hate it.
Whoa!
Oh, stop! It gets weirder. So I'm thinking, I hate it when I get like a little rock in my shoe. It's the worst feeling ever, right?
You were about to say,
like,
I hate when I get a little prick in my shoe.
No,
but you didn't want me to go there. Again,
I didn't want you to go there. So I hate it when I have a little rock in my. It's just like it's just a little grain of sand, right? Like a little sand-sized grain thing. It's in your shoe, and it's right there under the pad of my foot, kind of on the pad, but near the little toe. It's driving me. It's driving me crazy. Absolutely driving me crazy. So I take my shoe off, take my sock off. There's nothing. There's nothing there. Later on, I'm walking around barefoot. I'm still feeling it. It's like there's some weird nerve thing going on the bottom of my foot. I think this is the strangest thing. I have a pinched nerve. It literally feels like there's a pebble. But there's no pebble. I'm barefoot. I'm walking around. It's radiating pain. So I finally sit down with like some implements and tools to see if I'm going to have to, carve out some kind of a piece of skin or something. What do I have to do? There's a little hair sticking out of the pad of my foot. Literally, like a hair. I'm like, okay, this is weird. You don't grow hair out of your bottom of your soles of your feet.
If you're old, you do.
And if suddenly I've reached that age where I'm growing hair out of the soles of my feet, then I am literally going to go kill myself and spare the world my mutated genetic material. So I pull out, and it just comes right out. Like somehow a little hair got inserted into some kind of a nerve cavity in the sole of my foot, like an acupuncture needle. And I was feeling it.
You know what I'm doing
okay now? Isn't that bizarre?
It not only is it bizarre, but as you were telling that story,
yes.
I'm trying to stay awake
yes.
during the story.
Yes.
I flashed on to that shot from The Fly when Jeff Goldblum reaches over his shoulder.
Yeah.
I think he reached over his shoulder and he pulled out like the little coarse hair that like the very
yes.
first coarse hair he
yes.
saw.
Yes.
He's kind of feeling around his shoulder. He's like,
yes.
oh, what's that? That's what I flashed on.
Well, good. Please don't flash anymore.
Stop that.
We don't need your flashing.
You
and your flashing and your pricks.
Don't be doing that.
Okay, fine.
Don't be taking my funny and do the funny. How dare you? Wade,
yes.
now AFI is coming up, and
AFI Fest and AFM.
I don't go to. I love AFM because it's just the worst movies ever. By the way, you realize that
I used to work for Air France. We called it AF. It's just too bad that Air France isn't getting in on this AFM AFI thing. It'd be like an AF festival.
That's great.
Be an AFF.
That's great. I'm seeing nothing from AFI. In fact, I may not even pick up my press badge.
You know what? You're going to love this. I have had hopefully the people from AFI Fest don't listen to this. I have had my press badge on hold for the last 5 consecutive AFI Fest years. I have not gone to AFI Fest, a single one of them. I haven't.
You just have too much to do.
It's just too much to do. This time of year is it's manic. It's insane. It really is insane.
I'm definitely behind on screenings for our laughter voting, which is December 8th. The good news is that I'm not going to New York for Thanksgiving this year, which usually means I lose like 5 days of screener watching.
I
so
don't know
for that.
I don't know why they don't start getting their screener act in gear earlier. Every year this happens. I don't know why they don't do this, especially smaller companies. The problem is that when you blitz us with like 120 screeners in 3 weeks.
And it will happen.
And we will, and here's like, here are 120 movies we want you to watch in 3 weeks. Inevitably, what gets cast by the wayside? The stuff we've never heard of. You look at it and you go, okay, screw that. Okay, Saving Mr. Banks, got to watch that. Rush, got to watch that. Captain Phillips, got to watch that. And it's all the big A-list stuff, whether it's Miramax or Weinstein Company or Fox Searchlight or whatever the case is. You pull those things out. And then, of course, everybody in the LAFCA email list, they shoot emails back and forth and say, you got to see this, got to see this. And based on who says it, you go, no way in hell, or, oh, I trust that person's opinion. But invariably, there are going to be about 60 or 70 little movies in there that no one will watch, that'll get completely lost because they didn't take the opportunity to get themselves on our radar earlier when we didn't have the other movies in hand. If you send me a screener in September and blitz me with phone calls and say, you got to see this movie, we really want you to consider it, you have a better chance than if I get it literally, the day before Thanksgiving when I have a pile a mile high.
But then again,
it's just crazy.
Right now, my front door is a FedEx tag.
Oh, so annoying.
And I missed the first FedEx delivery, so I signed the receipt, I put it on my door, and now when the FedEx man comes tomorrow, he's going to put at my doorstep the first, actually not the first screener I've gotten. I did get a couple of screeners before that, of In a World, the Lake Bell film.
Yeah.
So that's good. And we know what, hang on, you know what? I did get a did get a package. Hang on, go vamp for 10 seconds, and I'll tell you what I got.
Okay, well, you know what? While you're vamping, I'm going to announce we have a Vox Box today. At least I think we do. Pretty sure we do. Maybe it's a mystery. We have a giveaway this week. You know that?
Is that this?
Nope. Well, we're going to do that. We're going to give that away, but that's not like a real giveaway.
Here's what I got.
Yes.
Okay. Here's what I got.
What you got?
And we'll talk about the giveaway in a second.
Yes, we will.
I got a package from Cinedime.
Yeah, I know. I got
Short-term
the
12. Short-term 12.
Which I'm going to watch.
Which people love.
I know.
Not seen it.
I heard good things about it. Haven't seen it, but yeah, I'll watch that one.
Our Nixon, which I'd love to see.
Not going to watch.
Well, I'll see it for myself.
Why? What? It's not going to be in the running.
Nixon.
It's not going to be running.
No, but here's the thing: if it's a lazy Sunday night and
a film about killing is like the only documentary anyone's even concerned about. So anyway, go on.
Narco Cultura.
Not interested.
Call Me Cucu, which I saw is very good.
It's very good, but it's not in the running.
This I will see because I must or I will die. Don't Stop Believing, Every Man's Journey. The story that we talked about that a couple weeks ago.
Sure
it's a story about that guy from Thailand or something who took over for Steve Perry. Yeah. Has an amazing voice. They found him on YouTube.
Not in the running.
Not in a million years. Dead Man's Burden.
I don't even know what it is.
Don't know what that is. Terrible documentary. And this is all.
That's good. No,
what's good?
No, the Borscht Belt
comedy
thing.
Went to school.
I love that movie.
No, you don't.
I do.
No, you don't.
I do.
It's not a very good documentary.
I don't care.
It's about it's about the Catskills.
Robert Klein. I know. I talked about it on NPR. Robert Klein narrates it, and it's the whole.
You thought this was a good documentary. It's fine.
It's about the Borscht Belt. It's the Catskills. It's wonderful. All these old Jewish couples talking about all the old comics they used to watch. It's wonderful. Jerry Lewis is interviewed extensively in
Harry
it.
Dean Stanton, partly fiction.
Yeah, that's a good doc. Actually, it really is.
It is good. Actually, I get this because I always disappear on my birthday because I hate my birthday. Mm-hmm. They sent me the screener because I had asked for it because Harry Dean Stanton and I share a birthday.
Yeah.
We were both born on July 14th.
Sure.
He was born many years earlier.
Yes.
May I just say? Mm-hmm. So because I hate my birthday and I tend to hide, I spent part of my birthday watching Harry Dean Stanton, partly fiction, because we were both born on the same day.
Sweet.
And then finally An Act of Killing.
Yeah, that's the...
Which is the only one we care about.
That's really, honestly. And I have problems with An Act of Killing, to be honest. I have some kind of persnickety issues with it because I think it gets Indonesian history wrong, notably right at the very beginning. It's wrong from the outset, claiming that there was a government coup. There was not a government coup, but that aside, I'll put it this way: if you want to sort of correct the inaccuracies that are rife throughout that movie, just watch The Year of Living Dangerously, the Mel Gibson, Sigourney Weaver, Peter Weir film from whatever it was, 1980, 85. Linda Hunt won an Academy Award, Best Supporting Actress, playing Billy Kwan, playing a man. Brilliant film, amazing book. And that gives you a completely accurate view of what was going on in Indonesia at the time that all of the original crap breaks loose that this film talks about. So even though this film gets the history inaccurate, I don't want to say it's quite wrong. They just sort of misinterpret it, and they very hastily cover it because there's a little bit of a political agenda there. The problem in Indonesia is it was bad guys replacing bad guys. There were sort of no good guys in the government, so there was really no good option. But anyway, apart from that, it's a great film.
And this is your front runner right now for a documentary.
Oh, yeah, it's front runner for the Oscars, too, I would say.
Wade, you have a choice. We can either talk about DVDs, which we haven't done yet, and we're like 10 minutes into the show, or you can eat your cookie.
I'll eat my cookie.
Really?
Yeah, hit me. Cookie.
Okay, this is a cookie with tarragon and lime.
Tarragon? You put tarragon on a cookie?
Something like that.
You put tarragon on a cookie?
Maybe it's not tarragon. We'll just eat the damn thing and
okay.
Shut the hell up.
This is kind of scaring me now.
It's got white chocolate on top.
Okay. What's the green stuff?
Little like slivers of lime rind.
Okay, that's good. It's not, as long as it's not tarragon.
No, that's not tarragon. By the way, this is good. This is good internet radio, folks. Mm-hmm. Wade eating a cookie.
That's good.
Is it good?
Mm-hmm.
Now you would tell me if it's not good.
No, I'll show you if it's not good.
I only now get this. Now, folks, here's what it's like to bake, and I know this is very interesting.
You know, tarragon. That was the original final line of Gone with the Wind.
Tara's gone.
Tara gone, but it didn't quite fly with the test audience, so they went with tomorrow is another day.
No one wants to hear about movies; they want to hear about baking because that's why they listen to us. I'm going to say this real quick. So I can't believe we do this. So anyway, I'm making these cookies, right? Mm-hmm. And the first batch comes out a little too crumbly, bottom a little too dark. And because I'm kind of an intermediate baker, not a beginner, not an expert, intermediate, I'm trying to figure out what's wrong. I figured out what's wrong, Wade. You know what was wrong? I had the rack too low. Because when the rack is too low, the rack is too close to the flame, which means at the bottom... Well, here comes a breast joke. Okay, forget the breast joke. Because the rack is too low...
I'm going to make a brassiere joke.
Okay,
I was going to say your oven needs a brassiere if the rack's too low.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for killing my joke.
Well, my oven's had a couple kids, got a little older. You know how it is. So, anyway... So if the rack is too low, that means that the cookies are closer to the flame, so the bottoms get darker, right? And then it starts to bake a little too much. So I raised the rack up, and then I got a good batch, and you're eating one of the good batch. The bad batch, which by the way is not bad, it's fine, but the bad batch I'm eating myself. The good batch I'm giving to guests to make it seem like I know how to bake.
So,
about DVDs anytime
out of context.
Soon.
Out of context.
Oh, really?
You just said. When the rack's too low, the bottom gets darker. I'm just saying. Go out in public and have that conversation.
Exactly. All right, let's get this over with. What are we doing?
Let's get over with. Okay. So what we're doing is, actually, first we're going to plug a forthcoming holiday season film because it's a small film, but we want everybody to be aware of it. Phase 4 Films on December 6th is releasing the directorial debut of our good friend Charles de Lauzirika. Charles, who has been a guest on this show several times, who is still the premier producer of extra content on DVDs and Blu-rays. He's been Ridley Scott's
guy forever.
He's Ridley Scott's guy forever. He right now he's in Spain actually working with Ridley
on Exodus.
Yeah. So he's doing all the he's getting ready to do all the big extras for Exodus. And still does it. He's the Alien quadrilogy. That's all his stuff. I mean, he is the premier go-to guy for a lot of this stuff. But he directed a movie, and it is called Crave. And it comes out on December 6th. It stars Josh Lawson of House of Lies, and who's also in Anchorman 2. Ron Perlman is in it. Edward Furlong is in it. And we are really looking forward to seeing it. And he's looking forward to having everybody see it, and we want to make sure that is on everybody's radar. Crave. Charles de Lauzirika's directing debut. So let's, not that we really yearn for him to stop doing great extra content on DVDs, but I think it would be awesome if this really launched his career as a filmmaker and got him to that next level, because he deserves it.
From a personal
level.
He's
a super talented guy.
From a personal level, I wish that he gives up DVD extras forever to embark on a lucrative...
Absolutely.
And creatively fulfilling, financially successful directing career.
We do aspire to push him there. And then also we have a giveaway. And we have a giveaway of a film that we're going to talk about today, which is a film called Computer Chess. And we're going to get to that momentarily, but we are giving, I'm going to let everybody know right now, we're giving away 5 copies of Computer Chess. The publicists are at Kino are being really, really cool about this, and they want to give away 5 copies. So just send us emails to gods@digigods.com. Put chess, CHESS. Don't make any funny spellings or anything. Just chess in the subject line, and as long as we get it by Friday the 8th, as long as it is date stamped and time stamped, by Friday, November 8th, it will be eligible. And we will pick 5 people at random, and we will let you know. And then we'll have Kino send you your fantastic DVD of Computer Chess, a film by Andrew Bujalski. And we will talk about that later in the show. Meanwhile, Mark.
What happened?
We need to get started.
Oh, we're only 15 minutes into the show, Wade.
I know. We're going to blow through a lot of this. How about I start off on some animated stuff, and then I'll let you kind of get ready with the regular movies. But there's some really awesome animated stuff that we have not completely gotten to, and I'll go through this as quickly as possible. Olive has released 2 volumes of Betty Boop: The Essential Collection, Volume 1 and Volume 2. There are 12 Betty Boop shorts per set. They are both Blu-ray. They are fantastic, and this is part of Olive's ongoing rating of the Paramount Library. I gotta tell you, I'm endlessly just awed by the fact that Paramount has no value for their films anymore. I mean, it's not even library titles. You realize everything that Paramount now releases theatrically, after that initial DVD pressing, they turn it over to Warner Brothers. Movies from 6 months ago now are part of Warner Brothers. I'm getting press releases and alerts now that Warner Brothers, like the first half of the year, all the Paramount films, Warner Brothers is now marketing the DVDs.
Because they've priced it out, and they've decided that the best thing to do would be to unload it to somebody else.
It's like they're treating it like fast food. They're treating their movies like fast food. Like,
well, do it.
Yeah, but it's a disgrace. Warner Brothers doesn't. No. Disney doesn't.
No, Warner Brothers has the world's biggest movie library.
Yeah.
And they've decided that they see value in it.
Paramount does not. It's just unbelievable. Anyway, there are some amazing shorts here between the 2 volumes. And look, if you get one of these volumes and not the other one, you're dead to us. We will not. We will cancel your podcast subscription. Just a few of the samplings in here: Dizzy Dishes, Betty Boop's Bamboo Isle, which is an amazing classic. Betty Boop for President is wonderful, from 1932. The Foxy Hunter, 1937, is a classic. Betty Boop's Prize Show from 1934.
Well, you read all the titles?
No, I'm just reading a few of them.
No one's ever heard of these titles.
They're great.
Good or bad.
They're great. They're fabulous. I mean, they're fantastic. And they're all 4K remasters on high def. And it's just fantastic. It's beautiful stuff. Really, really beautiful stuff. And then we got a bunch of things from Warner Archive Collection that might jog your memory if you're an old vintage animated cartoon fan from the 60s and 70s and so forth. Marine Boy, the complete first season, 26 episodes on 3 discs. Did you ever watch Marine Boy? It was kind of like
I'd never heard of it.
It's like Johnny Quest meets Aquaman. This is 1966, 67. Sort of the early years of Saturday morning television, right when that's really becoming a thing, and it's really actually pretty cool. It is really pretty cool. Very smartly done, very cleverly done, and I think people would thoroughly enjoy kind of visiting that and catching up on it. Jim Broadbent narrates Lost and Found, which is a really, really sweet animated film. I think this is getting a little bit of a push. This was inspired by a best-selling book written by Oliver Jeffers, and it's delightful animation. It's a little bit in that Henry Selick vein, right? A little bit like James and the Giant Peach-ish. And I think it's absolutely first rate. The animators I've never heard of before, but really, really good stuff. And Jim Broadbent's voice as narrator is just super delightful. And it's basically about this little boy who finds a stranded penguin, and it's about the adventure that they take to the South Pole. And it's wonderful. It's just a wonderful little film. So definitely check that out, Lost and Found. And then, Mark, I know you're a big fan of Hanna-Barbera classics, and we got 3 Hanna-Barbera classic collections here.
Are you making fun of me?
Yeah, I am totally making fun of you.
I am a big fan.
These are 3...
It was Filmation I didn't like.
I know. These are 3 Hanna-Barbera complete series now from the Warner archives. The first, do you remember the Hair Bear Bunch?
I do not.
You don't remember the Hair
Well,
Bear
you know
Bunch?
what? I might. Oh, yeah, yes, I do.
See, now
yes,
you
I
see
do.
the picture of the guy with the
Right.
the
huge orange afro thing.
Yeah, the huge orange afro. Now you remember the Hair Bears. I don't know where this idea came from, but I used to totally enjoy this show. It was completely off the wall, and it was just completely idiotic. And then, do you remember this one, Captain Caveman and the Teen Angels?
Oh yeah,
right.
There's a very funny a Family Guy gag with Captain Caveman.
Really?
Yes, there is, and you don't like Family Guy, even though.
Well,
I tell
see,
you
now
would,
I might like Family
and
Guy.
they do a
Really,
Captain Caveman thing.
That's pretty inside.
Yes, the
That's
whole show is like that.
That's pretty cool. No, I see. The thing I loved about Captain Caveman, there's something very subtle about this. This basically is every man's dream. Every guy wants to just be this like boorish caveman, hairy, naked guy hanging out with hot women. This fulfills the male
really
fantasy.
That's really actually that's my life. I'm a big hairy guy hanging out with whatever.
And then the Hanna-Barbera Classic Collection Space Stars, a complete series, which was their way of taking all of these characters that they had created and just ramming them all into one series, including Space Ghost, the Herculoids, Astro and the Space Mutts, and Teen Force. And they just threw them all together and made another series out of it. Kind of recycling all this crap. I got to be honest, Astro and the Space Mutts is really stupid. I was completely unaware of that as a thing, other than Astro's presence in the Jetsons. But Teen Force is pretty cool. The Herculoids were somewhat cool, and Space Ghost is just the best.
No. Space
especially as a talk show host.
That's when Space Ghost was the best. I was inspired.
It was
take
inspired,
a long
wasn't it?
forgotten
That was
cartoon superhero and turn him into a talk show host.
That was the most brilliant idea.
It was the best. Not the best is now. Wait, let's talk about movies. How about
talk about
that
movies?
For a
Yeah,
change?
let's
All
do
right.
it.
Kristen Bell is the lifeguard. This is a fairly dull film, and Kristen Bell plays a big city woman turning 30. She decides to head to her parents' suburban home, where she becomes a lifeguard, has an affair with a high school boy. This is one of those films where you need somebody with... Well, first thing you need somebody with a lot more dimension to their acting than Kristen Bell, who's fine, but she can't really give much life to the script, which doesn't really have enough a backstory or real emotions to it. I just feel it's very dull, and it's kind of lacking in originality, and it was just not really... obviously there's a lot of stories about people that age who realize that their life in the big city isn't what they thought it was going to be, so they decide to go home. We've seen that story 1,000 times. This one, though, I just feel is, there's not a lot of backstory to really kind of, get us connected to the lifeguard.
She looks like she could have been on Baywatch, though, right?
She is wearing...
She just can't carry a movie. That's the problem.
She's wearing the sexy, red lifeguard suit, which is very true. Anyway, lifeguard, I'd pass on this.
All right. A couple of films here from Image. One of the things that happened with Image Entertainment was that when it was acquired by RLJ Entertainment, which is Robert L. Johnson, the billionaire behind Black Entertainment Television, BET, it basically didn't change. Image still is this kind of free-for-all company that releases all kinds of titles and all across all things, but they do now release every month several titles that have all-black casts, kind of sort of suburban black household themes. They're targeting a very specific audience, namely the audience that is not targeted by, say, the Tyler Perry stuff. That's not targeted by the Ice Cube stuff. That's not targeted by all the other movies that have been aimed at black audiences for the longest time. And I don't know that there's an awful lot of crossover interest here, but they're okay. These films are sort of coming along. One of them is Frat Brothers, which is about a couple of there's nothing specifically urban about this. It doesn't have to be a black cast, but it is. And so hopefully people don't look at it and go, "Oh, that's only for black people." Not really. It's a mid-level film. It's basically just a family drama, and anybody's going to be able to relate to this. A couple of brothers, one of them pledges to his dad's fraternity, the other one pledges to a different fraternity. Creates a big family thing going on, and it's okay. If you have fraternities in the family, I guess it means a little bit more. And the other one actually isn't bad. Homecoming is about a group of friends who get together 20 years after they graduated from college, and all the issues that sort of resurface, and all the old wounds come back to haunt them. A little Big Chillish, but otherwise pretty well done by the writer-director Eugene Ash, who I think has some chops. So hopefully he'll be able to do bigger and better things with a few more names in the cast and emerge from direct-to-video land at some point.
Wait, Parkland, as we careen towards the 50th anniversary of the assassination of JFK. Parkland, I have to say, this thing kind of came and went, and it's out on Blu-ray now very quickly. I like this film. I think this film is a bit overlooked. It is the story of the JFK assassination as told through the nurses and doctors who had to treat him and Lee Harvey Oswald at Parkland Hospital, which is where they were both taken after the assassination. And it was directed by a guy named Peter Landsman, and he's a former journalist. And I got to say that this guy has a very interesting eye. He deals a lot in close-ups, which kind of gets you really into looking to the eyes of these people, what they were thinking, the choices they had to make. It's got a very good cast, including Zac Efron, who's fine, Billy Bob Thornton, Jackie Weaver, Paul Giamatti. And we've heard the story told many times before, but not from this angle. And I think Parkland was a little overlooked, but I did think it was pretty good, I have to say. I would recommend, as we get closer to the JFK assassination anniversary, you guys check out Parkland on Blu-ray.
Dead in Tombstone is probably the most interesting of the 18 Danny Trejo movies to be released on DVD and Blu-ray and in theaters in the last 16 days. They're just, I don't know how he finds time to just keep making movies. It's unreal.
The best.
Anyway, this is the most interesting of them. This is out in a Blu-ray, DVD, and ultraviolet combo set. And here's the plot. I'm kind of surprised that this did not actually get a theatrical release, because I think this would have done better in theatrical release than Machete, the second Machete film, which is just stupid. Here's the idea. It's a Western about a mining town that is sacked by a bunch of gangsters, by a bunch of thugs and crooks, and the gang kills their boss, who is Guerrero Hernandez, played by Danny Trejo, and he goes to hell, where Satan, played by Mickey Rourke, a strange little kind of angel heart twist, right? Mickey Rourke plays Satan and says, "I'll let you out of hell if you go and you bring back the guys who put you down here. If you bring me them, I'll swap you out." And so he sends him back, and of course the rest of it is just it's just merciless unleashing of hell in a kind of a very silly, campy, cartoonish Western scenario. It's actually strangely fun, even though it shouldn't be. It should be crap, but I thought this would have done better in a theatrical release. It did not. So there are two versions on here, R-rated and not rated. There's not a significant difference between the two of them. I wouldn't worry about it. But, Universal should have put a bigger push behind this, I would say.
Wait, Clear History was a film that went right to HBO. I think it's very funny. It stars Larry David. He plays a guy who was working for a electric car company who gets into like this meaningless argument with his boss, played by John Hamm, and as part of the argument, he decides to give up his 10% of his shares in this company, and of course, the company goes on to make billions and billions of dollars, and Larry David is left with nothing. So he disappears for 10 years and reinvents himself out of shame. And when it comes to comedy and shame, nobody does it better than Larry David. So if you love Larry David, you'll find this thing absolutely hilarious. It's very memorable. It's got a lot of funny stuff. It's very Woody Allen-esque, which, of course, Larry David is always accused of doing and being, but I do like him. It's got a terrific cast. Kate Hudson's in it, and Michael Keaton's in it, Danny McBride, Eva Mendes. I don't know what happened to Eva Mendes. And Amy Ryan, actually a former Oscar nominee. What happened to Amy Ryan? Anyway, I like Clear History. It didn't really get a whole lot of love. It got some good reviews, but not a lot of love. I don't know how many people really watched this thing. It didn't seem like it hit much of a cultural nerve, but it is funny. Clear History, starring Larry David.
James Franco had a film. He's directing movies left and right now, and nobody's releasing them. It's really funny. He's got this Sal Mineo film that's coming out in a couple of weeks, which is going to do absolutely no business. He had a film effect selected for the Cannes Film Festival called As I Lay Dying, which is based on a novel by William Faulkner about a family trying to get their mother back to her hometown to be buried. And The novel, I've read the novel, read it a long time ago, never found it to be particularly cinematic. So it's no surprise that James Franco, the extraordinary auteur of The Ape, would decide to try to prove himself a more legit filmmaker with this. But you know what, Mark and I, we won't let you forget that he directed The Ape. We will not let you forget that he starred in a movie and directed the movie in which a guy in an ape suit wears a Hawaiian shirt and throws feces at him.
But you know what, I have to say, Franco has such a restless career. The guy does whatever he wants. And you know what? I like that, actually.
Yeah, I like that, apart from the fact that he seems to turn up everywhere. You realize when this lunatic was shooting up LAX the other day, James Franco was there. He's tweeting about it. It's like, are you not... Is there anywhere you're not in the middle of everything? Are you everywhere all the time now? What the hell? Come on, guy.
Oddly enough, for a guy who runs all over the place, doing everything he can, he winds up hosting the Oscars and being the most lifeless Oscar host in history.
Worst. Just goes up there and smiles like a stoner. Anyway, As I Lay Dying. Look, in fairness, it's not a bad film. It's based, it's based on a novel that does not lend itself to being particularly cinematic. But I'll tell you, it's a far cry from The Ape, and I will be fair to him. It's a better film than I would have expected from the guy who directed The Ape. So maybe he is maturing a bit, but As I Lay Dying, didn't get a real big push theatrically. So maybe it's all for the best. Maybe one of these days he'll sort of come through with something. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt.
I also have to say that when he top lines films, I find him totally charisma free. I didn't like him in the Wonderful World of Oz.
No.
I didn't like him in Planet of the Apes.
No.
I just find this guy, he's a bit of a charisma deficit.
I agree with you.
Speaking of charisma deficit, speaking of deficits actually all around.
Yeah.
Comedy directing, thy name is not Dennis Dugan. Pretty much anything with Dennis Dugan's name
unreal.
is
And
the
yet,
broadest, most unfunny crap you've ever seen.
Adam Sandler has gone back to him time and time and time again. Over and over. I mean, and it all started with a non-Adam Sandler film with the film Problem Child. Problem Child is when Dennis Dugan decided to inflict the worst possible, broadest possible comedy on everybody. And I thought that was sad because I actually like Dennis Dugan as an actor. I was one of the 4 people who watched him on television as the star of Richie Brockelman, Private Eye. I remember that. It had a great song, School's Out, written by Mike Post, at the time when he was writing everything. And I thought that was just fabulous.
I used to love Mike Post.
A really fun show. And then he became a director and started making bad Adam Sandler movies.
So bad.
I have some fascinating stories about the kid who starred in Problem Child, by the way. I'll tell you after the show.
Yes, great. Anyway, the latest Dennis Dugan POS is Grown Ups 2 with Adam Sandler, Kevin James, Chris Rock, and David Spade. This is a sequel that exists only because the first one did well in flyover states and did pretty well internationally. So you know what? If everybody works for a little bit less than they're used to, we can make another one and all get rich.
Yay.
So this is just bad news. This is just very broad and not that funny, very tossed off material. Obviously, nobody's trying all that hard. A lot of gross out stuff that I'm not really a big fan of. I just think it's just junk. So Grown Ups 2, although it was mastered in 4K, Wade, because you know what?
Yeah,
I want to see Kevin James
I know.
in 4K.
You do. Yes, you do. White House Down was the first of the summer's big blockbustery films to just completely tank. And I heard from a number of people, including some listeners to the show, that it was not as bad as all that. Give it a chance. Give it a shot. And I have to be honest, it's not a terrible film, but it's not a particularly good film. And I think the problems are very simple. Number one, it had the misfortune of coming out being the second film in the season with essentially the same plot. The other one being the Morgan Freeman. The other one.
Olympus Has Fallen.
Olympus Has Fallen, which they're doing a sequel to, by the way.
Thank God.
Apparently because
Olympus Has Fallen again.
Yes. Olympus Has Fallen came out with basically the same plot. So that took a lot of the thunder away. Second thing is, I think the premise is problematic from the get-go. Even if there's already been a movie about the White House being under siege, I got to tell you, I really think just in this current environment, that's not exactly a story that people are going to thrive to. I think it kind of pushes. It's a little bit too. You know what? There are lunatics showing up outside the White House and outside Congress all the time with guns and so forth. And we're still too close to 9/11. I think people might feel this is still. It just hits a little too close to the bone.
Really?
We're not quite. I think people just don't. They feel like I don't really need to see that because that's not escapism. That's still something that.
There's a raw nerve there.
There's a raw nerve. There's an exposed nerve, and it's not something I think people are quite ready to see. You know, even Air Force One, if it were made today, I think would suffer the same fate. I think that would feel just a little bit raw today.
I think Air Force One was one of the last decent Harrison Ford movies.
The other problem, Jamie Foxx. There's nothing presidential about him.
He's too young.
It's just wrong. He's not the look. Just because we have a black president does not mean that every black actor now can play a black president. Okay, I mean, you know, for example, Channing Tatum plays the other guy in this, right? The tough guy, right? He's the action hero saving the president. Just a cop in Washington D.C. Now, could Channing Tatum have played the president? No. He's no more presidential than Jamie Foxx. It's a type thing, you know. It has nothing to do with race or anything else. It's just some actors do not have a presidential demeanor. Morgan Freeman can play president all day long. Harrison Ford can play president all day long. These guys have like presidential heft to them. But there's nothing presidential about Jamie Foxx.
Well, that's true. However, there is something international box office about Jamie Foxx.
Yeah, not really. Not
really.
really.
You don't think Jamie Foxx sells international?
No, I don't. Not at all. Not at all. I think the only thing that has ever sold international with Jamie Foxx was Ray and Django. And Ray was sold internationally because on the strength of the fact that it's about Ray Charles, and Django sold internationally on the strength that it's a Quentin Tarantino movie. There's nothing about Jamie Foxx that sells internationally outside of those two movies. I think it was a big mistake. But anyway, that being said, this has a few special features, featurette and stuff. You know, Roland Emmerich, who loves to blow up the White House many, many times in his career, going all the way back to Independence Day. And then you got some Blu-ray exclusive stuff on here, gag reel, which ain't that funny, and a bunch more featurette-y stuff. The only one that is a little bit interesting is the VFX Boundaries Down. That's the special effects stuff, plus a Crashing the Oval Office special effects breakdown. The effects stuff is a little bit interesting. The rest is kind of boilerplate. Also ultraviolet on this one.
Wade, one of the big ones this week is the extended edition of The Hobbit, An Unexpected Journey 3D. Now.
Oh, and thank goodness that's been extended. Because, you know, it was just too damn short before.
I just think, you know what, I'm so over this whole damn thing.
The whole Hobbit should have been one movie. And then it was going to be two movies when it was Del Toro, and then Peter Jackson turned it into three movies, and now we're getting extended versions. It never should have been an extended one movie. It's just too much.
I don't know who buys this stuff. Can someone please email us at gods@digigods.com and just tell me that we really need this?
Because the Lord of the Rings is like, what, you know, over 1,000 some odd pages of stuff turned into three movies. It winds up almost being a page a minute just from the books. The Hobbit is this tiny book. They're overinflating it. It's unbelievable. It's just they're inserting so much gas and so much air into this and set pieces that are not in the book. It's crazy. I don't know what they're doing.
Well, the extended edition takes up a couple of Blu-rays in and of itself. There's also a fourth disc of the making of. There's also a fifth disc of character backgrounds. The only thing I'll say about the Hobbit 3D is that the Blu-ray. You hear those dogs?
I do.
What's up with that?
Oh, vampires.
This is
vampires.
What? Are these zombie dogs?
Yeah.
This is a gorgeous Blu-ray. This is a 1080p AVC encoded. Looks amazing. It's pretty top notch. The audio is top notch also. So look, there's a 3D version of the movie here. You need the glasses. Obviously, you need a Blu-ray 3D player. So. If you're into this crap, go for it, dude. But I just think I'm over it. I mean, you really got to sit there and revisit. We now have literally approximately 15 hours of just Lord of the Rings movies.
Yep.
We've got the original three. We got this one. We have The Desolation of Smaug, which just sounds like a joke. Let's go see The Desolation of Smaug, honey. I mean, that just sounds horrible. The flippity flip of Blanguaca. Why just make stuff? Maybe just make up words and put it after The Hobbit. Honey, let's go see The Hobbit. The Rapscallion of Flambombly. I love that movie. I read all 17 versions of that book. It's just the desolation of smog. Are you kidding me?
Diminishing returns and all that
People, just
stuff.
stop it.
Yeah. Neil Jordan's career really has been kind of
the skids.
The skids lately, and I got to tell you, I'm one of the 4 or 5 people who really liked Byzantium. I think this is his best film in quite a while. It is his first vampire film since the Anne Rice thing. And I actually thought this for a low-budget little British indie with a real cool genre twist, I just loved what it did. I thought it was so interesting, so kind of counterintuitive, so alternative. And I don't really like vampire movies to begin with. I mean, I think the whole genre has been way overdone. But I thought the approach in this particular film was so interesting and so unusual and so different. I totally got into it. I also love Gemma Arterton. I just think she's fantastic. Cannot get enough of her. I'm a big fan of Saoirse Ronan. And the idea here is that they play a couple of vampires, present day, whose relationship is not clear, but it is slowly unraveled as you piece together where they came from a couple of centuries earlier, what happened, and why these other guys who appear to also be vampires are after them, why they are being pursued. Very, very interesting. It reinvents vampire lore entirely from the ground up, which is what I think is clever about this film. It doesn't, most vampire films sort of cop to all of the vampire lore that is, the silver bullet and the garlic and the Draculas and the this and the that and all the stuff that sort of has been there. They try to build on that foundation. Byzantium doesn't. It invents its own lore from the ground up. It completely casts all that stuff away, and it's a whole new landscape. And that makes it interesting. That makes it very, very innovative. It's beautifully shot. Really cool music, great performances, and Neil Jordan demonstrates that even if the movie wasn't a success, he still has chops. It's a good-looking Blu-ray. Highly recommended.
The way back.
Oh, I gotta watch this.
Is one of those like Sundance-y type movies that everybody was buzzing about because it's like the new Little Miss Sunshine, it's the new Juno, it's the new blah blah blah, and I gotta say it's really pretty good. It's very charming. It's a real crowd pleaser, but it's not unctuous. It's not trying.
It's not unctuous.
Yes, it's a crowd pleaser, but it is not.
You just used the word unctuous in a sentence.
Yes, it is not trying to.
Wow.
It is not trying to prove to the audience that it is the nicest, coolest, awesomest thing. It just sort of is a really cool story about this kid who goes on a summer vacation. The kid's 14 years old. He has to spend the summer with his mother and his mother's new boyfriend, played by Steve Carell. And this kid is alienated. He's young. He kind of feels like a loser. And he winds up, while on vacation, meeting Sam Rockwell, who takes him under his wing. And he learns all sorts of fabulous life lessons. I thought this thing was, you know what? I was really expecting one of those twee little Sundance-y things that are just so insufferable. And I'm not saying this doesn't have some of that, but I just feel like the performances are good. It's very funny. It's very charming. And, I think whatever is formulaic about it just melts away. I just think it's an interesting film called The Way, Way Back. Recommended.
Sweet.
Recommended.
Brian De Palma made another movie this year. He's also been kind of on the skids. He's not really been on his game since Mission Impossible. That was like his last. Yeah, I thought he was going to resurrect his career in that moment, and then he just made a bunch of crap.
You know what's funny is that some of us were disappointed in the original Mission Impossible, and then we started to watch the sequels, and when you go back, you realize how good the original was.
No. The stealing of the knock is one of the best things he's ever done.
Yes, when Tom Cruise floats on the
and the drop of the sweat on the edge of the glasses. Oh, that's just.
But then you got like JJ doing one, and
John Woo.
Although you know what, Mission Impossible 4 was terrific.
Yeah, it's fine.
It was terrific. But you know what? But the other one,
the Brad Bird thing.
Yeah, but the De Palma original, that's got style.
That's the best.
It's tense.
So great.
See, movies don't stop to be just tense.
They don't stop, is what it is. They don't stop anymore. They don't pause. Well, anyway, getting to that.
Kids don't like pausing, Wade.
Brian De Palma,
kids are very busy.
Brian De Palma's Passion, which stars Rachel McAdams and Noomi Rapace as a couple of female executives who get involved in this, corporate climbing thing that becomes kind of a bizarre thriller. This almost plays like a parody of his old movies. He's trying too hard to do the thing that he thinks people expect him to do. That's the problem. He thinks, I'm De Palma, so people want me to do have all this kind of weird, creepy, quasi-Hitchcockian, latent, S&M-y, lesbian-y kind of subconscious obsessive crap going on, and it's like, no, you don't need to actually do that intentionally just to be a Brian De Palma movie. Just make a good movie. Just do something interesting. Don't kind of indulge in your own obsessions all over again. And it's funny because there's an interview that I did with Brian De Palma, which is actually part of the book on interviews with Brian De Palma, where he talks about getting tired of his own obsessions. This was about the time that he did the Mission to Mars movie, and apparently he's not tired of his own obsessions because he's indulging them tenfold here. But anyway, not a terribly good movie. It's got a little bit of his style, but it really feels like a parody of a Brian De Palma movie. And it has interviews with De Palma and McAdams and Rapace in it. Comes in a Blu-ray package that is white. Not white, it's red. It's a red Blu-ray keep case, and that's very odd. It'll stand out on the shelf, but if you're buying it on Amazon, you probably don't care.
Wade Lovelace stars Amanda.
I love lace, especially in doilies. It's really nice.
Seyfried.
Yeah.
I always pronounce her name differently. Amanda S.
Seyfried.
Yeah. Plays Linda Lovelace, who's kind of the first porn star, I guess you could say. This is in the early 70s.
Yep.
And she starred in a very famous porn film called Deep Throat, which was kind of the first porn crossover hit, I guess. It made millions and millions of dollars. Interestingly enough, you realize that Deep Throat...
Yeah.
Which was 1972.
Now this
made
was
like hundreds of millions of dollars, but Linda Lovelace only made $1,250 for her appearance in that movie. That's all she ever made.
Really?
Yes, and the movie made hundreds of millions of dollars. Here's the thing: Lovelace is actually not bad. It was played at Sundance, where it got a little bit of buzz. When you think about all the ways this thing could have been just terrible, it winds up avoiding most of them. And becomes pretty interesting. It's with Peter Sarsgaard, Hank Azaria, Adam Brody, Bobby Cannavale. It's got Chris Noth, Debbie Mazar, Juno Temple, who I love, Sharon Stone. It's a terrific story, and it's a good little film. You wouldn't really think, but so it gets into the whole Deep Throat frenzy, gets into how it affected Lovelace's career, and what wound up becoming of her. And so it's a great little character piece. I thought it was great. I was surprised, very surprised at Lovelace, the story of Linda Lovelace, the very first porn star, Wade.
Girl Most Likely is a well-meaning film that doesn't quite fire on all cylinders, but it fires well enough to be probably worth watching. Stars Kristen Wiig as a playwright whose life just has completely disintegrated, so she moves home. And she has to sort of reinvent her life by, moving home and getting back in touch with all those wacky people she ran away from, including her mom, played by Annette Bening. Oh, she's just so nuts. Here's what's frustrating about this. It's got a decent cast. Matt Dillon is in this and does, pretty decent job. But this is by husband and wife team Shari Springer Berman and Robert Pulcini, who previously did American Splendor and The Nanny Diaries. And you remember American Splendor won Best... Were you in LAFCA when we gave a Best Picture to American Splendor? Okay, that was before you were in.
Yeah.
We gave Best Picture of the Year.
Oh, it was terrific.
To American Splendor.
Sure.
I'm just saying, American Splendor. Best Picture of the Year.
That's what you're saying is...
What I'm saying is, I didn't think American Splendor was the Best Picture of the Year, but still, it's like when suddenly a major film critic organization tells you just made the best film of the entire freaking year. That should light a fire under you to maybe try to do things big, just use your capital. They've not done anything with their capital.
Well, the problem with these guys, too, is that they can really only make... See, those sorts of films,
yeah.
They're not going to graduate and make Thor 3.
But they haven't...
Okay? They're not going to make torture porn. What are they going to do?
None of these movies since even had what American Splendor had, which was that certain kind of self-reflexive inventiveness where, you're sort of outside the movie while you're inside it at the same time. It played with the form, It played with that whole comic book sensibility in a really inventive way. And none of their subsequent movies feel like they have even the desire to try to be inventive anymore. It's like they're just going through the motions. It's a funny script. Let's make actors do funny things. Okay, next movie. It's almost like they don't care anymore. It's very strange.
Well, it also may be a function of whatever scripts they're offered.
I guess.
Maybe they're writing it,
Yeah.
but it's not really clicking with financiers. So they get offered scripts that maybe they don't want to do, but then again, they got to do something, so let's just do that. That's how it is.
Yeah,
anyway,
yeah.
Bounty Killer Wade.
Yeah.
Bounty Killer takes place 20 years in the future, and, I have to say this movie is pretty stupid, but it's kind of got some fun stuff in it. It's kind of Road Warrior-ish. It takes place 20 years in the future, and the world is run by corporations, and all they care about is making money. And this thing, it's all about these outlaws who want to get revenge on a bunch of criminals, like white-collar corporate criminals, and they jump in their car and their motorcycles, and they just go after them with vengeance, and it's just ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. It's got an okay cast. Christiana Loken's in it from Terminator 65, whatever that was. Matthew Marsden, basically a bunch of nobodies. Garrett Busey shows up for a second. But this thing is so ridiculously like, B-movie Road Warrior that it kind of had me going for a little while. It's called Bounty Killer. And, I got to say, don't expect much, but if you want something really kind of fun, energetic, slightly cheesy, I would go for Bounty Killer. Believe it or not. I'm just saying.
And now, the movie that is our giveaway this week, Computer Chess.
This movie's great.
It's terrific, isn't it? It is a really smart comedy from Andrew Bujalski, who wrote, directed, and edited it. And the whole thing takes place like 30 years ago when computer programmers were kind of trying to master the whole idea of computer chess. And it's a really smart, clever film. This was at Sundance and South by Southwest and Berlin. And, I think Kino should have really given this a big theatrical push, but I understand why it, would have been a challenge. But what a smart movie. I mean, what a really smart, clever little movie that captures a brilliant moment in time.
I agree. It's very clever. It's very charming. It's very whimsical.
Yeah.
It's just great. You know what it is? It captures that like primordial moment.
Yeah.
When like computer programming and computer technology were just a day and a half away from taking over everything.
Yeah.
And it's just great.
But it also captures the sensibility of computer nerds at the moment when they were emerging, when, these are people who were just nerds before, and then computers gave them a sense of purpose. And it captures that sensibility, it captures that particular kind of personality. It's really, it's a sharp little movie.
Yep, love it.
Great snapshot of a moment in time. That's from Kino Lorber, and they are giving away 5 copies of this. So please email us at godsdigigods.com. Put chess in the subject line, and we'll pick 5 people as long as your email is date stamped by the 8th, and you will have the wonderful opportunity to get a DVD of Computer Chess from Kino Lorber. And what a fun movie. Andrew Bujalski, real future that guy has.
I agree.
Talented filmmaker.
Yep, on board.
All right, Mark, Docs.
War of the Worlds, Wade.
PBS.
October 30th, 1938. Very famous day in radio and cultural history, which is the day that Orson Welles did his legendary War of the Worlds radio broadcast, which, what's funny is that, the whole story is that, Welles, he's, 23 years old. He does this War of the Worlds broadcast and on the eve of Halloween, 1938. And the story is how everybody thought that this radio broadcast was real. Now, this is 1938, folks. This is not, nobody's tweeting about it. Nobody's Instagramming. It's 1938.
And Ray did a little audio doc for...
Which is great.
Which is terrific. It was really good.
And so everybody freaks out because everybody thinks that there really was an alien invasion.
It's so surreal.
But what's funny is that, and you get the sense of it from this documentary here from PBS called War of the Worlds, is that... it really wasn't like this thing where millions of people were freaking out. It really was just a handful of idiots who thought there was an actual alien invasion. Mm-hmm. And most people knew it for what it was, which is a radio broadcast. So some of that was a bit overblown for history's sake. But still, it's a great moment. It's a great radio moment. It shows the power of radio. It shows the power of media. And it's one of the first to really do that. And so I think this is great. So if you know nothing about the War of the Worlds and you want to get a very interesting snapshot as to what it was like in 1938 to be totally fooled, I mean, this is almost like one of the ultimate media pranks of all time. Check out the PBS documentary War of the Worlds. Great stuff. Just great stuff.
Baby Peggy, The Elephant in the Room, is an outstanding film from our good friends over at Milestone. This is distributed by Oscilloscope Theatrically. And I'll tell you, the people at Milestone do such great work, and it's just a small company, but they really they nail it when they get a good film, and they find some really amazing films. Baby Peggy, The Elephant in the Room is a documentary about about probably someone you've never heard of. If the name Baby Peggy doesn't mean anything to you, you've definitely never heard of her. Baby Peggy predates every other child star and child films series from any era. She was the original child movie star, pre Shirley Temple, pre Mickey Rooney and Judy Garland, pre all of that stuff. Baby Peggy was a silent era movie star from the time she was a baby, practically. I mean, she could barely even walk, and she was already a movie star, hugely successful, and then her career just imploded, family problems, all kinds of other dramatic twists and turns. And this is a fantastic documentary that tells this long-forgotten story. And it's not just a great movie history story. It's not just a great story about a particular period in time and, you know, some kind of a weird eccentric story about how perverse the industry was even in its earliest days, but it really is a cautionary tale about now. And it's a terrific film. Really, really good. Baby Peggy, The Elephant in the Room. Highly, highly, highly recommended. And then also Masters of Money from the Acorn Athena line is an awesome film, especially if you're a kind of an economics wonk, which a little bit like I am. This is about economic theory as applied to the current economic situation in the world, the crisis that the world has sort of been in economically in every corner of the globe since about 2008 at least, when the big collapse happened. But it even predates all of that. But this specifically is from 2008 on. And they look for what different economic theories would apply and how they might have impacted this. And they specifically look at three. John Maynard Keynes, father of Keynesian economics, the great Austrian economist Friedrich Hayek, otherwise known as F.A. Hayek, and then, of course, Karl Marx. Now, you know, I have no great love for Karl Marx. I think one of the, great psychopaths of history, but nonetheless, it's interesting to see his economic theories applied against Hayek, against Keynes. And, I'm a real wonk for this stuff, and I thought this was a really, really interesting documentary. I thought it did a very good job of making all these different economic theories accessible, and kind of helps you understand different points of view and different vantages, and it puts it all in historical perspective. I think it's a terrific doc, and really should be seen by just about everybody.
All right, wait, here's what we're doing.
Masters of Money.
Here's what we're doing. I'm going to talk about this one in my hand. We're going to do the Vox Box, then we're going to do TV, and that's it. We are done.
Okay.
For this week's excitement.
Okay.
Are you ready with the Vox Box?
I'm ready with the Vox Box.
Okay, first let me talk about The Greatest Ears in Town. This is a documentary. Now, I love documentaries about music producers only because you don't really get a sense of what really goes into the making of any song until you look at the producer, hear what they're saying, look at them behind the soundboard, see how they contribute, get a sense of how they add to the sound. Obviously, let's say, Phil Spector, being one of the big ones, you really get a sense of what the Phil Spector sound was. Here you got a guy who's very unsung. His name is Arif Mardin. And he put his stamp on songs by the Bee Gees, Aretha Franklin, Barbra Streisand, Hall & Oates, Bette Midler, Norah Jones. The guy was just terrific. And The Greatest Ears in Town is all about him. Now, he died of pancreatic cancer a number of years ago, but still, if you want to get a sense of what it takes to make a hit record and how sometimes the producer and the artist wind up fighting over it because it's the artist, it's their butt on the line if the song doesn't work. Mm-hmm. But the producer a lot of times is the one with the vision. And it's a great documentary, The Greatest Ears in Town. Check it out. Wade, what are we doing?
We're doing a Vox Box.
Gentlemen, Mario Mendez here, long time no here. I wanted to ask something that has been puzzling me for a while. I wanted to know, using Mark culinary terms, How's a sausage made? How far ahead do you guys review your DVDs? Do you watch the movies in their entirety? Do you watch them by segments? Last week there was The Exorcist re-release. Do you put on the old Exorcist re-release to see what has been added and taken away? How's the big picture work? What day do you guys get together? How long do you record? Fill it all in so that I just get a good idea. And last but not least, my brother's movie, Mike Mendez's Big Ass Spider, opens up on VOD October 18th. That's right. Shameless plug. Thank you. Take care.
Love the plug. Perfect. Mario, thanks. I think that's so cool. His brother's movie is like a big deal now. It's Big Ass Spider.
Hey, man, come on. You know what? Anybody who gets a movie made, God love him.
And Greg Grunberg's in that movie, and Greg is, of course, an old friend of ours as well. So part of the old JJ cult.
I know.
Greg was
junior high school.
Yeah,
he was when I went to junior high. He was part of the JJ.
He
cult.
was. Yeah, and Greg has.
So was I, by the way.
And Greg has made me laugh many, many times. Greg and good friend of mine from high school, Mark Sanderson, were screenwriting partners for a while. So we have all kinds of little tentacles, and I think we are invested in your brother's movie. We're definitely invested in its success because of you and because of Greg. So we hope Big Ass Spider really, really hits it big. Looks like it has all the makings of a cult film. How's the sausage made? The sausage is made chaotically.
It's a bit case by case. Like, for instance, when it comes to The Exorcist, I've seen The Exorcist 500,000 times. So I don't need to sit through the entire new Exorcist, but I will look at the old Exorcist. And, again, sometimes, as you know, when we go through these things, sometimes we'll mention the audio-video quality. Sometimes if there's a lot of DVDs to talk about in a particular week, we will not talk about the video and audio quality. Just tell you whether you should get it or not.
Yeah.
But let's take The Exorcist as an example. I've seen it 50,000 times. I'll put in the old one, put in the new one, skip through it a little bit, check it out. And, because I already know I love the movie.
There is an amortization thing that goes on, too. I see a ton of stuff just because when I'm on Film Week on NPR. So a given NPR show, for example, a few weeks ago, there were 22 films that opened on 1 week. That's insane. I don't know why people release that many movies, but a lot of them are four walls. They're kind of one-offs and whatnot. We wound up talking about close to a dozen films in the show. In any given week, I've got to see usually that week just about everything that gets released. At least is all the big stuff. So I have seen a lot of those things already. So when they come to us on DVD or Blu-ray, I don't have to watch the whole thing. I can kind of skim through it. Oftentimes, it's just a question of watching the extras. Sometimes it's if it's a TV series, just take a look at one episode, a few bits in the episode, just listen to a little bit of the commentary. We do the best that we can. The important thing is that we're giving you an as honest appraisal of as much stuff every week as possible, so that you don't actually have to go and read individual reviews over and over and over and over. We try to give you the big picture. So it is really week by week, making a whole different sausage every week, depending on whatever is presented us.
I mean, we could talk about less DVDs and talk more about less DVDs, but we decided to talk less about more DVDs. Yes. Although for some reason, if you guys want us to talk more about less DVDs, then let us know. But I think right now it's a bit more like volume.
So real quickly, knock out a few television things. Got a couple of foreign television things from the great people at Megahertz Networks. That's mhznetworks.org. Always releasing really, really interesting stuff. The Johann Falk trilogy, a 3-DVD set of Zero Tolerance, Executive Protection, and The Third Wave. The Johann Falk trilogy is a Swedish series, which is, like a lot of Swedish television, feature quality, really, really well done. Stars an actor by the name of Jakob Eklund as a cop in the town of Gothenburg, which is really a town. It's a city by Swedish standards, but it's a town by anybody else's standards. And this is really great cop stuff, great cop television, and it feels like a feature. It really does. It's beautifully directed, really well written, highly recommended. And then there is Antigone 34, the complete series, which is a French series on 3 DVDs, about 6 hours worth here. Not a huge series, but Antigone 34 is just really, really tough policewoman stuff. And the French do some pretty bad television, but they do some pretty good television too. And this is really good television. This is great television cop stuff. Way better than Policewoman with Angie Dickinson from the 70s here. Definitely check it out. It's gritty, tough television. So Antigone 34, the complete series.
Wade, we have Magic City. Now, this was a Starz show that lasted 2 seasons and has since been canceled. This is all about, Miami and all the bad guys and good guys and film noirish type malls who hang out in Miami. And it has Danny Houston in it, which, of course, means that we don't like it because we hate everything Danny Houston is in. We're so mean. But I do like Jeffrey Dean Morgan. He's cool. Anyway, this is the complete second season of Magic City, which I cannot really recommend because the show's been canceled unless you love the series. So anyway, this is part of the whole Mad Men thing. It takes place like in 1959, and which is a little bit earlier than Mad Men, but still, it's around the Mad Men time. Even though Mad Men is kind of like late 60s at this point. Actually, speaking of which, we have season 6 of Mad Men. Anyway, I would forget about Magic City, and I would go with season 6 of Mad Men, which I'm holding in my hand right now. This does take place in the late 60s, and at this point, I have to say that Mad Men is running out of steam. I'm a little over it at this point. I get it. It's a great show. I think the issue is that AMC kind of like they need to find a way out of the show, and they need to replace it with something equally good because you want to go out on top. You don't want to go out running on fumes.
Well, Low Winter Sun, man. I'm all about Low Winter Sun.
Low Winter Sun is cool, but again,
it's a good show.
But again, I don't know Low Winter Sun to me seems like indie cool, whereas Mad Men seems like a little more mainstream cool. And they need another mainstream hit like Mad Men.
Yeah,
because I'm a little over it. Anyway, go.
Right. Vikings first season. Who knew that the History Channel would start doing stuff like this? I gotta tell you, I'm a big fan of Vikings because I got Viking ancestry, and
Jesus!
You kind of you sort of want to figure that I'm a modern day Viking. I could go raiding with a battle axe. I could ransack if I wanted to. I could kind of tap those ancient genes. Not really. I think this show is trying to get its footing. I'm hoping the second season really corrects a lot of the issues because it just felt kind of cheesy. It felt like they were cutting corners and trying to be just a little bit too Viking-ish. You don't need to put that much into it. You got guys with swords and shields and they're raiding and marauding. That's kind of the deal. You don't need to have them act overly macho, and everybody's just a little bit too, I want you to go raiding now. We want to go raiding where no one's ever been raiding before. No, it's forbidden to go raiding to the east. And you get, okay, whatever. It just feels a little bit silly. So I'm hoping that they correct that. It gets better along as it goes along in the series. I watched the first few episodes, caught a few of the next few, and then kind of caught the last few of the season. And the Blu-ray set is really quite nice. This is 9 episodes. They are unrated here, so there's a little bit of extra stuff in them that would not be television friendly. So you do get that much. But the extras, the audio commentary, it's not that great, and the featurettes are so-so. Try to give it a little bit of historical perspective, but nothing that great. There are some exclusive interactive bits on the Blu-ray, especially the Armory bit. That's actually kind of interesting. So worth getting if you're a fan of the show. Otherwise, I'd say hold out for when it finishes its run, which will be in 2 or 3 years, and then get the complete series.
Wade, I like Under the Dome. This is a summer show that really kind of struck a nerve. And this is based on the Stephen King book. This, of course, is about the little town of Chester's Mill, which is suddenly sealed off from the world by some sort of a force field or a dome. And it's one of those Lost-type dramas where they really parcel out the mysteries. And
they tell you nothing every week, and then they tell you a little bit more, but then they tell you even less.
Yeah, you know what? I would consider this a little bit. I mean, Lost was like I was lost. Watching Lost for most of it.
You know what these shows are. Here's what these shows are.
I like Under the Dome.
These shows are a stripper. These shows are a stripper who shows up one week and takes a piece of clothing off, and then comes back the next week and takes another piece of clothing off. But yet she's put some more pieces of clothing on.
All right,
that's what it is.
That's quite an analogy.
Thank you.
Anyway, I like Under the Dome, so screw you. The complete collection, Saved by the Bell. Now, Saved by the Bell, they've collected all 5 seasons of this piece of crap that we just loved. mainly because Elizabeth Berkley was smoking hot, at least to me. And Dustin Diamond was that nerdy kid who we could all relate to. So this is basically of all 5 seasons on DVD. They put them all in one big package. I have to say, I mean, I'm glad that they didn't just take unused or unsold copies of the 5 individual seasons and throw a box around them.
Yeah,
they actually kind of tried to package them decently.
They did.
So if you love Saved by the Bell, how could you not get this? Because it's Saved by the Bell. I would never want to own the show, but it did have its moments. It was very cool. Dustin Diamond was like, he was like the dude. He was the Urkel of Saved by the Bell.
Yeah,
he was the Urkel. He was Screech. And Tiffany Amber Thiessen was Cupid. Berkeley, hot, smoking.
Yeah. And we also have Boy Meets World, the complete collection, which is this is unlike unlike Saved by the Bell. They just sort of ram all 7 seasons in here rather unceremoniously. I was never a huge fan of this show. I don't find it all that charming or compelling, but it had a certain following, and for a certain generation, this is going to be very, very nostalgic. I find it really remarkable that this show is now a decade old. The earliest shows are 20 years old.
Holy Christ.
Boy Meets World is suddenly unbelievably ancient. So these people these people are now like 40 years old who thought this was like a really cool show at the time. So maybe that'll be meaningful to them. I don't know, but it's bargain price, so it shouldn't be a big deal. And then lastly, the complete 6th season of The FBI with Ephraim Zimbalist Jr., the man with the most uncreative parents in the world. Couldn't you have thought up a better name than Ephraim Zimbalist Jr.?
No.
I don't know. Anyway, this was a great show back in its day, one of those original Quinn Martin shows that were so slick. And
this was a cool show. It was. I growing up, I would see. I mean, these were in reruns. Obviously,
absolutely.
This show predates us, but I'm saying that in reruns, it was pretty cool.
But like every other show from this era, it's just loaded with great guest stars. Loaded with them. I mean, a lot of great people. Martin Sheen shows up. Dabney Coleman. Suzanne Plachette, even William Shatner it shows up in an episode. It's
Rob
just
Pattinson, he's in this. Miley Cyrus, she's in this too.
No.
No Rob Pattinson.
No.
How about
no. Miley Cyrus? Yes, she's twerking. Yes,
right?
Yeah, she's a twerking fetus.
Fascinating.
She's not even close to being born at this. She'd be a twerking fetus on like Boy Meets World.
All right, wait,
okay,
wrap it up.
That's it. We're done. Mark, do we have? We got to pick an outro, man.
We have to record. You realize that we got a bunch of new intros and we've recorded none of them, Wade. Why is that? Mainly you.
We cannot coordinate schedules because I have a baby.
Corey will come. You realize that Corey will come to your house to record them.
I know. We should do that. We'll just do that.
All right, goodbye.
All right. That's it. We're done. No outro this week. I don't know. Or come on.
It's the end. Goodbye.
There we go.